We are just kicking off our live show today, and I'm so happy that you're all here. Thanks for your patience while Substack got itself ready to rock with us for this live episode. I'm thrilled that you're joining us. And wherever in the world you are, let us know if you're here live in the room while we are recording. Love to know where you're Substacking in from and celebrating. If you're on with us live, it's Monday. It's a new month. It's a new week. This is a blank canvas, and we're going to have an amazing time today, an amazing conversation so that we can support us all in having this week be epic, having this month be epic, taking charge of the rest of our year so that what we decide today, which is what's going to determine next month and the summer and the fall and into next year, we know that every decision we make is a vote for our future self. And I have an incredible guest. Kim Artsinger's here, and I'm going to bring Kim on here in just a moment. And we're going to have a conversation about a new model in the coaching industry that I'm excited for us to talk about, excited for you to learn about. If you don't know about it, maybe you do, maybe you are a client of it or a coach of it. But Kim is here as our guest expert, and we're going to be talking about the evolution of coaching and the coaching industry. And this is really exciting. So Kim, I'm going to go ahead and actually bring you up here. It's going to take us a moment. I've learned as Substack's technology sort of catches up. So we're going to let Kim get up here, and I'll let Kim tell us more about what she does. But just to give some context for why I wanted to have Kim on with us. Hi.
Hi, so happy to be here.
I'm so thrilled you're here, and I know it's a little laggy sometimes with the live. So if I'm lagging, I apologize. But we know that that it's going to reach everyone, and Substack will process the best they can. So I'm thrilled that you made some time today, Kim, because I'm going to let you introduce yourself more formally here in a moment. But the coaching industry has entered some hard knocks. Is a lot of broken trust. And we hear about news stories every day where people talk about, a coach that didn't deliver on what they promised, or, even there's even like scandalous stuff. If anyone's watching the news, for like just people behaving badly. And it's a real shame, not that in every industry, there's not the same dynamic in the sense you have great doctors and poor doctors. You have amazing lawyers and shady lawyers. You have incredible financial advisors and messed up financial advisors. And coaching is no difference, but because we are someone's trusted advisor, and as someone who's been a coach for over 22 years, it really does fill me with heartbreak to see the industry be compromised by people's lack of integrity. And what you're doing, what you've experienced as a client, and what you are doing, your coaching model, is something that I see as a trust ascension possibility. And so why don't you tell everybody what you do, where you live? Let's just get into it. And then let's talk a little bit about, because you're the person I've been most excited to have this conversation with, but this model that you're using is something that I have been hearing more and more about.
Thank you as well just for opening up your platform in this conversation. I like you, I love our industry, but it breaks my heart to see some of the things that have happened. So I just think it's so great that we can have this conversation. But hi to everybody I haven't had a chance to meet. I'm Kim Artzinger. I'm a one-on-one business coach and mentor, and I've scaled an all one-on-one practice over the last 10 years. So I only focus on one-on-one when the rest of the world has basically said scale into group models, which I'm all for as well. Those have a place, but I have very intentionally decided to stick with one-on-one because it is, as we're speaking to, where I believe I can show up the best to support my clients to build a relationship and partnership and really support them over the long term to multi-six and seven figures. And I use a revenue share model, which is, I think, what we'll talk about a lot more. And that is something I learned from my coach, Lacey Sykes, just to, always give credit where credit is due. And something I've experienced on both the client and the coach side that I love very much. And I think it definitely is something that can at least be one part of addressing the trust recession. It doesn't have to be the only thing, but excited to dive into that more with you.
Well, I love this, Kim, and because you and I met, we were in a networking Zoom room together, and I got excited because, like I said, I've heard this honestly from a lot of bros. And I wasn't as interested until I could see women that I trusted and that had
Mhm.
integrity using this model effectively. And so we are gonna break it down. But I also want to acknowledge for everyone, I get asked a lot where people say, "Oh my gosh, I love one-on-one. I don't wanna have a group program. I don't wanna have a big team. I don't wanna have a lot of overhead. I want to go deep with amazing people and get transformational results for them." And so I love that you're an example because sometimes people we get sold this is another issue in the coaching industry.
Yep.
We were told for years it's all scale, one to many. That was the whole thing. One to
Yep.
many,
Yep.
one to many. And that's not always the right model for everyone. Now, some of us feel very called to facilitating groups. I love our groups that we coach. It's a calling of mine. And
Mhm.
I also do one-on-one work. So I'm a both coach. I do both one-on-one and group. And I have coached though more and more people recently who are sticking with one-on-one and they're thriving. And you're not, I mean, the profit margin, there's so many
The profit margin's
advantages.
wild.
I mean, so just for anyone listening, it's like we get told these things. You have to do this. Everyone's doing this, and I've never been a fan of any have tos because the truth is every business model can work, and
Every
also every
business model
business
can work.
model cannot work.
Absolutely, and I think we get sold I came into the space a little over 10 years ago,
Okay.
and when I came in, it was very much the ascension model was the only way. I was told I was could not do this, and it was almost like the goal was scale your way out of
Yes.
one-on-one as quickly as possible, and again, I think groups are amazing, I think masterminds are amazing, I've dabbled in those, I think courses have their place, but at the end of the day, because I've tested everything, like, this is what I love most, and you're telling me I need to scale out of the thing I love the most, that I think I can
Yeah.
show up in the best, and that pros and cons to every model, but one-on-one is the most profitable model. And the funny thing is so often we chase other models because we're told that's the right way or the way to scale. And then the irony is it's not necessarily easier. They all have their pros and cons and their trade-offs. And that isn't does not necessarily mean you will make more money. You can if you do it the right way and from the right place, just like one-on-one definitely can. And I think revenue share is a nice way without having to continually jack up your rates to also be able to scale your profit.
Big time, and we're gonna get into your model and what revenue share coaching looks like, here in just one second, and I want to affirm again that the goal what got me depressed a couple years because I've been in this coaching space
Mhm.
for 20 something years, and I would see leaders and their whole goal was not only to get out of one-on-one, it was to get out of doing anything in their business.
Yep,
Any
yep.
It was like, and I had this moment when I worked in corporate very briefly, and it was awful. And, I had a moment in corporate where I looked at my boss's corner office, and
Mhm.
I realized that not only did I not want my boss's job, I didn't even want that job.
Yeah.
And I thought that was my moment when I said, "You have to leave." Like, this is une and of course I didn't, and I waited for untold traumas to ensue until I finally left because I was golden handcuffed and afraid and all that stuff. But I had that moment very specifically where I said, This is clear. I don't want any of this. I don't want any step along the way if I was going to have this be my future. So, what the hell am I doing?" And I sort of had that moment about 5 or 6 years ago in the coaching industry where I've charted my own path in it and you've charted, a unique path. Not that no one is doing either of our
Sure, sure,
models,
sure.
but I had the moment where I said, my goal isn't to not be with my people. Actually, I am honored every time I sit
Yeah.
across from someone, if it's one-on-one in our mastermind, in our Thought Leader Academy, like, that is a privilege and honor. It is a calling. I want to be with humans and create transformation, and I am grateful for the coaches that do that for me. So, it was really interesting. So, I changed up who I was working with. I no longer worked with any mentors whose goal was the 4-hour work week or the and I'm not saying anything wrong. We should all do
Totally,
what we're called
totally.
to. But my goal wasn't to replace and now with like, oh, people like make a clone and have your clone teach your coaching group. I don't know, but I would love to hear about anyone here who's on live. There's no way in hell I'm gonna sit in someone's Zoom and pay money to a AI to teach. Like, I'm not saying I won't use a chatbot. I use chatbots, of course. If someone has a great prompt or resource, wonderful. But I'm not going to like have a machine be a virtual hologram I mean, at least now I might eat my words. Maybe I don't know. That's just not something I'm interested in being to anyone else or doing. So I think the one-on-one is going to become even more precious because it's like, oh, this is a real person or small group, right? Very
I
intimate.
completely. I think, I mean, two thoughts just to piggyback off of that with what AI, and who knows what AI is going to do in the future, but it's not going anywhere. But I think one-on-one and one in small group intimate containers, having being in person in some way, even if it's in a Zoom connection,
For sure.
is going to become more and more valuable, not the opposite. I know we're so worried about that. I've seen the complete opposite in my business and in clients, just to like not fear monger everyone. And to what you were saying, not to overly like hit that idea over the
Yeah,
head,
I'm gonna just beat this horse.
no, but I feel like I needed to hear this so much because when I was deciding to stick with one-on-one, the noise was so what you were saying, kind of 4-hour work week. It's like bad to like your work. You need to almost scale out of this and working as much as possible. So there's something so affirming about, I think, hearing that. I needed to hear it. I wish there had been more examples. I came from a decade of acting, and I remember when I acted, the reason I did that is because I love the craft. I love
Yeah,
the work. And when I started this business, yes, I love money and I love scaling, but I love the craft of it. And I think
yeah.
we've almost like lost that in our industry. And I coach clients to scale. I love money, so I'm not discounting that side of it, but I feel like it's almost become at the expense of the reason so many of us came to this work in the first place, and I think that's it's so refreshing to hear you and to see your journey as well, because I think that's just something so many of us are it's like, "Wait, this is why we're doing this in the first place."
Right? And I love people in the chat are saying, "Oh, Cyril, very great to see you." But we were in Toronto last week, to in
Yes.
person, real, and
Mhm.
it's so true that, what was our why? What are we here? And those I think everyone in this community, and certainly Kim, you and I bonded over this, we're here to serve. I think of the money and the success as the result, not the goal.
Yeah, yeah,
And so the
yeah.
goal is serving, transformation, showing up, innovating, creativity, like you said, the craft, all those things, bringing out the best in someone, the self-actualization of the people we serve, the human flourishing, what
Yeah,
we are bringing to the
yeah.
planet, the thought leadership. That is the goal. The financial is the result,
It's
right?
the
When we
result.
do that well.
It's to be both. I think, um, Gary Vee, maybe he's a little bit more in the bro marketing, but I love how he always talks about it's an and. I think as women in particular, we're almost taught it's not okay for it to be of service and our craft and about serving a transformation and something that brings us success and money. And I love that in this industry, if we're not coming from a gross, manipulative, trust recession place, it can really and truly be both.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into this revenue sharing model in coaching because we told everyone you all joined today and I'm so happy and those of you watching, watching and listening to this later. We're talking about okay, great. There's broken trust in coaching. And can you focus exclusively on one-on-one? So tell us about what a revenue share model looks like in coaching.
So a revenue share model, I think I come from the acting world. It's very similar to how you might have worked with an agent if you've ever worked in that field before, or if you've ever done sales somewhere. But essentially, I get paid a base rate that covers my time and my team's time. So I do find that's useful with a revenue share model so that, with coaching, we have some skin in the game. But a revenue share model means that I'm also making 10% of new revenue my clients generate during our work together. So it's really a way for me to partner with them and to have some skin in the game. So if they are growing their business, I'm not getting paid more until they're making more. And if we're scaling and creating huge results, I'm invested in that and I'm getting the reward from that as well. But it also really helps me to to partner, to have skin in the game, but also to ride the entrepreneurial waves with clients, which I find um, encourages the long-term relationship, which is I think it's personally what I like, but I see that's where we can get the best results as well. And happy to dive
It's
into
really
any
exciting. So
aspect
everyone,
of that. Sorry,
yeah.
we have
So
a
everyone,
live.
I know it's I'm just making me crazy. I'm literally like, who am I calling later today to get this sort. So thanks everyone for bearing with us. But you're gonna get the goods even if our visuals are a little weird and our sound for a moment. So everyone, just let's take this in. If you're not familiar with this model, it's almost even to how I think of from the mergers and acquisitions world, where someone's going to like acquire a company, but say, I'm going to mentor you to grow this company, and then as you grow, we'll profit share together in that realm. So Kim's charging a baseline that covers her time and her team to do the coaching sessions. Kim, do you meet with people typically weekly? What kind of model, or does it depend on the person?
So the way I work with clients is I meet them 3 times a month, and then I offer quite a bit of between session support, so they have access to me every day. I review content, copy, landing pages, that sort of thing. So the
Sure.
sessions and then the time. And then long-term clients, 5, 6 years in, we sometimes adjust sessions accordingly.
Sure. Of course. Of course, if someone's doing that longer term. Okay. So you've got your baseline is a fee, a flat retainer that they're investing, and then 10%. So everyone, just like again, if you have a book agent, they take 10% of your royalties. You have an acting agent. I don't know if it's 10% in the acting world, but whatever that percentage is that your agent is taking. And so you're doing a 10% revenue share of their incremental income that they
Yep.
get from the work. And then the person knows you're in it with them. They know that you're as invested as they are in their success, because that's where the really full fee that you would normally be charging is going to only come if they get results.
Yep.
So how does everyone feel about that? Like, and so, okay, so we have some questions. All right, great. This is what I wanted to hear. One question is, how do they track their revenue growth? Like, how does that end up working in terms of someone paying their 10%?
Yeah, so I do it all on our system. I use Basecamp between sessions with clients, so I just have an automated notification. It goes out the first Tuesday of every month, and clients track revenue and they share. So I only base this off of new revenue cumulatively over our work together, so they can share
Yeah.
their revenue there. We technically have it in the contract that I could audit their money if I needed to, but I'm only working with people I trust. So my thought process is if there was ever a question there, there's probably a bigger coaching conversation that we need to have that really isn't about this at all. So we do it all on our system.
Amazing. So everyone, just think, if this is a model you'd be interested in proposing to a potential, client or a current client for renewal, you're saying here's the flat fee, and then it's you report the first of the month what your incremental revenue, not things that were on the books before we worked together,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
incremental revenue, and then they're just sending it once a month, like with their coaching retainer, right? They're
Yeah,
just
and
doing
so
a
then we just send
monthly.
so we have a monthly retainer and then team, I just give them that number, they just send out for 10% a separate invoice. So there's 2 invoices essentially each month that
Beautiful.
go out. It's pretty clean, it's pretty simple, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like it couldn't be more simple than that.
Right. It's clean, and 10% is easy math, right? It's easy numbers to track. So tell us, you wanna give us an example maybe of someone you've worked with, and obviously don't need to name names or industry, but is there an example of sort of someone you partnered with and what the results were for them and for you? So a coach could get their mind around, like, what the potential, like, if you, again, no distinguishing characteristics, but
Sure,
if you
sure,
were able to
sure.
say, "My base rate was 2,500 a month, and then here was what we made incrementally."
Yeah, so I mean, I think what's important to say with this, and just for anybody who might be thinking about this, I think this is why the base rate is important to set at a place that really does cover your time and your team's time, because depending on who you're working with, results take time. And so I've had clients come in and go from, 0 to 1 million, but that hasn't happened overnight. And so at the beginning, they might just be paying my base rate, which currently is 2,000 per month, right? And they might not be paying me anything in revenue share, right? In many ways, like not that I'm taking the risk, but like I am partnering with them and I am absorbing some of that risk and not charging more per month. And so it might take 6 months before I start to see that revenue share. And I've had other clients come in, and then over time, if they're making 50K per month, or they've gone from 0 to 50K, or they've gone from 0 to 80K or 100K per month. You can do the math on what 10% of that is. That can be a really lovely thing to partner in, because you're getting a $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, from one client, instead of charging
Right.
10,000 for the month upfront. Um,
Right.
but there is that ebb and flow, and so I think that's just something important to remember if you're taking this on, because what's
Mhm.
really important to me with clients is I never wanna coach a client around what's gonna make me money. I wanna coach a client around what is best for them and what is best for their business, and sometimes that means we need to slow down, or they're going through a hard
Mhm.
season, and it can't be, "Go launch this thing because Kim needs to make money."
Right. Right.
So, but on the flip side, the potential in that for both people is huge, because it's an easier buy-in for them because you're not charging as high per month. I do think that makes me a more competitively priced coach with the level of experience I have. And then, the upside of that can be, I think my coach caps it off after 20K per month, but like, I mean, the upside of it can be quite high per client, but it feels very um, earned fair, instead of I'm just charging this no matter what. And the
Right.
flip side of that, and sorry, then I'll let you ask a question, but the last
No, no, you're
piece
doing great.
there that I personally really like is, especially if you're working with a client who, let's say, has a launch model and they are having that 100K month, the normal thing for a launch model is the next month is not going to be 100K, right? Where like we have a big pop and then kind of it goes down, which means your revenue share will go down. But that's also, I think, very fair in a partnership than for your client to not then be paying, they're paying more because they're making more, but then the rate is always accessible is the wrong word,
Proportional, I'm
sustainable.
getting.
Yeah,
Like,
proportional and
it's
sustainable
proportional to
that
their income,
right, so
right?
they're not stressed that the next month, then when they're not launching, that I've got to come up with 10K for my coach. It is proportional, it is really sustainable, and they can continue to have that support. So I really like it from that aspect as well. But of course, like the scalability from a one-on-one perspective is in some way there's no limit to what you can make.
Yeah, so this is what breaks the objection when people have that objection that says, "Oh, I wanna, I wanna scale so I can't be a one-on-one coach." And it's just breaking that because now we're not in a scenario where there is a cap.
Yeah.
So you've broken that barrier and that myth.
Yes.
Um, so oh my, this lagging thing. I know you guys, we will have to have you back again. And so we can have this one. It's not doing this. But what I do want to ask two more things
Please.
before we conclude. One, how do you vet or qualify the people that you have to trust them? Like you've
Mhm.
already said, you obviously would only work with people in this model that you trust to be on the honor system in terms of reporting. But what else do you look for? I mean, I've got my hypothesis of what you would look for if you're doing a model in which the main way, to have your rates
Mhm,
be
mhm,
what you want
mhm,
them to be would be that the client is succeeding and
mhm.
in revenue. So tell us a little bit about your, vetting or your qualification process.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna sound so business basics, but I think it's just worth naming. I think we forget how much our content and our marketing and our messaging pre-qualifies clients before we ever have a call. Usually, I do offer a consultation. Still, I might move to applications at some point, but right
Mhm.
now I do a pre-session form consultation process for screening clients. But I find because of my messaging, because of my content, rarely do I have somebody book a consultation who isn't a fit and who already isn't somebody who's a yes for me. And
Right.
so truly, I think most of the work I do is I'm doing that on the far before I ever have a call with somebody. And that's what does most of the heavy lifting for me. But then
Yes.
when I have a call for someone, I mean, there's just some like really basic things. I'm looking first and foremost of it, again, this maybe sounds like not the right thing, but it just is so true. Do I like this person? Do I want to spend if I work with clients for 5, 6, 7 years on end, is this somebody like not that I can like just think I can get rich off of next month, but like I believe in them. I believe in their business. They're very coachable. They're open. I think they have the right ingredients for success, even if they're starting out. And that I could be excited to be all up in their stuff with them because I
Right.
might be talking to them every day for the next 6 years. And so those are they're a little bit less tangible, but those are the things I'm really looking for.
For sure. And people in charge say it's true alignment,
It's true
right? It's
alignment.
this
Yeah, that's
an
that's a
interesting
very
world.
succinct way to say
And
it.
I think also just most of us are probably at a point where our intuition kicks in and 99.999%, if not all the time, we know if something's a good fit for this. Because Kim, you're not able the true limiter of this model, and I say that as a positive, is that you can't work with 3,000
Yeah.
people,
Nope.
right? And so
Nope.
how many people do you work with at a time?
So I am a not crazy person, but I love to work. So just for context, because I never want this to be like, this is the way you should do this. I like to have between 20 and 23 one-on-one clients, and
Mhm.
I'm quite hands-on. I think most people are like, oh, that sounds miserable. I love it. This work lights me up. I'm not a
Yeah.
full-time parent, so it makes it very easy. I think other clients I think have more around 12 to 15, I think is
Mhm.
like a more normal number of
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
But to that point, even with 2023 clients, I can't work with everybody,
Right.
and that is a really important thing to screen for, especially with this model and having also revenue goals. I'm a breadwinner in New York City. Like I have an expensive lifestyle. Like there are those factors
Yeah.
to consider as well. But the alignment piece, and just to what you were saying, I think this just is so helpful to name. Anytime I've taken on a client who's not a fit, I have always known on the call, and it has always been me bypassing
Yes.
my own internal compass judgment and be like, I can make this work, or like,
Oh, I
it's
can think there's
fine.
a
Like
way.
I can hold a boundary. I've that is the only time it has been a misfit. And I've always known on the consultation and just not listened to myself.
Yep. And that's like who amongst us has not had the moment where we overrode intuition, then we say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that again." So it's like
Yes.
dating, it's like
Oh, it's
I
that.
knew going in that was going to be a hot mess, and it absolutely was. And next time, maybe let's listen to that.
Yeah.
So I love this. I mean, it's really inspiring. First of all, I'm just so grateful. I wanted to bring you on number one because you're a woman in the coaching field who has integrity. And I think, like to your point of our earlier part of this conversation, we just need more people being visible and talking about what are we going to do. It's not enough to say, oh, people have lost faith in an industry, whether it's law, medicine, finance, coaching. It's like, what are we going to do about it? And I think like this isn't the model for everyone. We said at the beginning, everybody listening, every business model can work. If you love one-on-one, that can work. If you love group facilitation, that can work. If you love courses, that can work. And they can all not work when they're not aligned, when they are not in full service of the people that we're there to serve. That stuff can be quick. So, someone can do a course and it's flashy, but if people don't get results, then it's not going to be sustainable longer term, right? And we're all in this, those of you in this community, and certainly you and I are here for the long game, and we're here to be the real deal. And so I love that you came on to talk about this, and I wanted everyone to hear, just to open our minds as we all think about the future and what are our professions and industries going to look like. This is a powerful way to be in it with someone. This is coach as partner, coach as investor
Yep.
in
Yep.
many ways in the business. And it's a new way to think. So I just want to get everyone's like minds expanded a little bit. And I thank you so much for making the time to be with us, so that those that haven't heard of this as a possibility, maybe it's something you want to consider. And those of you that are looking for a coach, maybe it's something you want to consider looking for in a business coach. How can people find you? What's the best way? Are you Instagram or
Yeah. Well,
LinkedIn?
first, thank you for inviting me and hosting this conversation and being a model of this and such a voice for this. I read your content. I think you're such an inspiring story. But just to like what you're saying, the way we also change the narrative in our space is more of us being in integrity and actually of service and doing good work and being about that. So thank you, like sincerely for like I want to see more, like I need to see more of that as well. So I just appreciate you so much for hosting this conversation and just so grateful to you. And yeah, I'm on Instagram at my name, Kim Argid Singer. I hang out there a lot. I just started on Substack and I'm loving it here. So I feel like this is my new, we all can hang out here. And I have a podcast. I'll see if I can find it and put it on my Substack. That is
Perfect.
an episode just actually about revenue share. And I kind of just go through some of the questions of like, is it right or is it wrong? Not wrong,
Yep.
but like,
Yeah.
so I'll share that just because as a free resource. You don't have to opt in or anything, but just so for anybody who has more questions. And
Well, that'd be amazing, and thank you. If you share it with us, we'll put it here in the
perfect.
notes from this. So everybody, those of you, if you haven't subscribed, everybody, and you want to get the notifications when we're going live and get replays and things, make sure that you subscribe here to our Substack, and then I'll link to your new one
Thanks.
now, and so people can follow you as well. I'm definitely going to be following and continuing to consume. I'm so grateful. We were randomly, everybody.
I
We were
know.
randomly paired together in this Zoom. I don't know who else was in that because only I was like, you and I are
So
bonding. We were like texting each other during the group Zoom, and knew we wanted to have this conversation. And you were the exact person that I wanted to come and share with everyone here the new possibilities in the field of coaching, consulting, and how to be a leader with integrity is the and a real human promoting human flourishing. That's the mission right now. I'm on with the download, and that's the mission that you're on and we're both on in our coaching work. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for making the time, for being with us. And then we'll go ahead and link to your Substack. That thank you for that free resource. I think we
yeah,
should
of
all
course.
take that assessment or answer those questions, listen to that podcast episode so that we can see, is this a model that we might want to pursue? And I'm excited to continue the conversation and maybe have you back, and we'll continue being the ones out there and being the good guys and the good women.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for bearing with the tech. I'm going to get this fixed. Okay. Bye.